and welcome to another episode of Top Dogs. My name is Rob Doster. I'm here right now with my producer, Tristan Tucker. We are going to be joined in just a little bit by Andrea Hurley, the wife of UConn head coach Dan Hurley. We're going to get into a long conversation about how she and Danny first met, what it's like living with a basketball coach that happens to be a germaphobe, and so much more about the UConn program on the side of it. You don't really get to see all that often publicly. But before we do all that, Tristan, it was a rough weekend to be a UConn fan. Tough loss at home against a Providence team that is never fun for UConn fans to lose to. So it was a bit of a drag for me this weekend. How was your weekend?
It was pretty good for me personally. I got to go to Charlotte for the Basketball Hall of Fame shootout. So that was pretty cool to be around all those teams. Got to see Richmond and the Bonnies and VT and all those other teams. But yeah, no, definitely a rough weekend for UConn.
Yeah. So I need to go on a rant here because I'm a little bit frustrated with some of the discourse around this, the program and the team and kind of where they are at this point. So first and foremost, I just want to make the point that UConn right now, as it stands, is probably like 4 or 5 possessions away from being an undefeated team, right? You get to make a couple shots here. Other team misses a couple shots. You have a couple whistles go the other way. Things like that. That's how fine the margins are right now for UConn between being a team that is sitting here at 8-3 and 0-1 of the Big East with fans feeling like ceilings collapsing on them, and sitting at 11-0 with a ranking that's probably somewhere in the top 10, and everybody talking about how this team is destined for the Final Four. So I want you to think about that. Keep that in mind. It's 4 or 5 possessions away from feeling like this is the best team that we've seen in a long time at UConn to feeling like the world is collapsing and the world is caving in. So,
their margin of defeat is 11 points combined.
Yes.
So
in 3 games, 11 points, 3 games. You know, if Tyler Polley hits one of those threes down the stretch against West Virginia, or Jordan Hawkins hits an open 3 that he had late in the game against Providence, or that possession with a minute left, I think it was against Providence, RJ Cole missed a 3 from the corner, and then Tyrese Martin missed a 3 off of an offensive rebound. One of those goes in. Or we talked about it when it first happened, the foul against Tyrese, or the foul on the offensive rebound that Tyrese got that wasn't called, and the foul that was called against RJ in the Michigan State game. If any of those things change, it's a very different discourse around what the season is at this point. I also think it's worth pointing out, UConn has not lost a game when they've been at full strength. When they lost to Michigan State, they didn't have Isaiah Whaley. We know how important he is for this team on the defensive end of the floor. When they lost to West Virginia, they were without Tyrese Martin and Adama Sanogo, who I would argue are the 2 best players and the 2 most important players on this team. And when they lost to Providence, they did not have Adama. And that's significant specifically for the Providence game, because I do think that the way that Providence defended them would have not been effective if Adama had been healthy. Essentially what Providence did was overplayed everything on the perimeter. So much of what UConn's offense is without Adama Sanogo there is just a bunch of double screens, right? A bunch of down screens, a bunch of pin downs. They run a whole bunch of sets, and they have a whole bunch of scripted actions to try to get guys like RJ Cole coming off a pin down or off of a dribble handoff or off of a ball screen, to try to get Tyler Polley coming off of a double screen so he can catch and shoot on a 3. Same thing with Jordan Hawkins, right? They run a lot of sets to get a lot of their perimeter players in a place where they can catch and shoot or run it off of screens. And what Providence did was kind of switch that and take that away and eliminate that part of UConn's offense. And when you don't have that pressure release inside, you can't really do anything against a defense that is playing that way, especially when so much of what UConn's offense, the way that they built them, or the way that it was built by Dan Hurley, was to get the ball into the post. So that's why you saw, Isaiah Whaley had a couple of slips that where RJ was able to find him. I think they scored on 4 layups that way. It's because of the way that Providence was playing. They weren't guarding the paint because they knew that UConn wasn't going to throw the ball to anybody on the block. And it makes you very one-dimensional and predictable to not have such an important part of your offense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's a huge reason why some of what happened on Saturday was stagnant. And it's a huge reason why I'm not all that worried about what this team's offense is going to be once they can get back to full strength. Now, that doesn't mean that they're playing great, right? But the fact that they are 11 points away from being undefeated, despite the fact that their offense hasn't really gotten out of second gear yet, like that should tell you everything you need to know about where this team can be once they get it figured out, where this team can be once they get healthy, where this team can be once they get to 100%. And here's another thing I'm going to tell you, Tristan. I've seen a lot of discussion and a lot of discourse has been about how UConn is not the same kind of a team as they were in 2014 or as they were in 2011 or as they were in 2009 or 2004, 1999, when they had their great runs in the tournament. And for the first couple of years, I'll give you that. Like, look, the 1999 team, they were number 2 in the country for the majority of the season. They were number 1 for a long stretch of that season. They were very clearly the second best team in basketball. They had pros up and down the lineup. This year's roster and the 1999 team, they're not comparable. It's a different level of talent. Same thing with the 2004 team. And I think you could probably make the argument it's pretty similar for 2009. That said, 2014, they were a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament. They lost 2 of their first 3 games in AAC play. 2011, they were a 9 seed in the Big East tournament before making that long run. They had a great early season schedule, and then they lost their first game of Big East play in 2011. In 2009, they were the number 1 team in the country, and they got drilled at home in their first game of Big East play by Georgetown. So it's not like UConn doesn't have a history of losing some games early on in conference play.
Yeah.
No one remembers those games, right? No one remembers that they lost 2 of their first 3 games in the AAC in 2014. They remember the national title. Nobody remembers that this team was a 9 seed in the Big East tournament in 2011, because what they remember is that 5-day run in the Garden behind Kemba, and they remember the 6-game run in the NCAA tournament. That's because the team that had promise figured it out in the games that actually mattered. So my point is, my ramble finished, is this team has a chance to be very, very good and make a run in March. This team has a chance. They've proven it with their defense to be a team that can get to the second weekend. And if you can get to the second weekend, all you got to do is go 2-0 and anything can happen. They are good enough to do that. They got to figure some things out offensively. Everybody knows that. They got to get healthy. That is not a secret, right? But to act like the sky is falling because they lost 3 basically 1-possession games is just, come on. This is how good they are, and their offense has been stuck in second gear. They're not clicking on that end of the floor. Eventually, it's going to happen. Eventually, Jordan Hawkins is going to get the confidence back to be the guy that was scoring 15 points a game earlier on this year. Tyler Polley is too good of a shooter to be shooting 28% all season long. He is going to start making them. Once he starts making them, that's going to open up everything, right? When Adama gets back, it's going to change things. He's going to be their go-to guy offensively. That'll open up. That'll make life so much easier for RJ. So just like chill. UConn fans, just like relax, okay? Yes, Saturday sucked. I promise you, no one is taking that harder than the people in Dan Hurley's house right now, right? The people within that actual program. I promise you that what you're feeling is not worse than what the UConn players right now are feeling. So just relax. And then there's another thing I want to rant on, Tristan, and I'm sorry for just taking over this portion of it, but like the complaints about what players are playing and when they are playing, right? Cook is a perfect example. He had a couple blocks early against Providence and then didn't really play much in the second half. Part of the reason he didn't play is that, I don't mean to single him out, but part of the reason he didn't really get as many minutes in the second half is, one, he's not physical enough to deal with Nate Watson and Ed Croswell, right? Like that's just his game is more, he's at his best if he's able to switch and do things on the perimeter and be your weak side shot blocker. If you're asking him to go one-on-one in the post or block out some of these like big physical 250-pound guys, like that's not what he does best. It was not a right matchup for him. And I think the perfect example of that is Andre Jackson finished with 12 defensive rebounds, right? Like having him out there to finish off possessions was more important than a Cook getting a couple blocks. That's why he didn't play all that many minutes. That's why he finished the game minus 14 in their plus minus, right? Another one is Rasul Dickens. Like, you don't know what's going on in that practice. You're not in there on the day-to-day. So Rasul Dickens may be the most talented point guard in the world. If he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing in practice, if he's not doing what Dan Hurley wants me to do in practice, like there's no way for you to know. There's no way for me to know. There's no way for anybody other than that program to know. So if you're going to trust this coaching staff to do it the right way and do it the way that they want to do it and believe that they're going to be able to win games, like you just kind of have to roll with the punches on it. It's they'll get there. And something really stands out to me is that in the preseason, right, when we had Dan Hurley on this very podcast, one of the things that he said is that you can see the growth of a program in the fact that like 3 or 4 years ago, they would have been starting guys like Rasul Diggins and Jordan Hawkins and Samson Johnson because they needed the players that had that kind of talent to be playing right away. Whereas this year, they're in a situation where they have to make those guys, those talented freshmen that are coming in, earn their minutes by beating out upperclassmen. And right now, that's what's happening. You need Rasul Diggins, you need Jordan Hawkins, you need Samson Johnson. If you want them to play, they got to go out there and earn their minutes. And the way that you earn your minutes is by doing what the coaching staff asks you to do in practice. And if they're not playing, then you just kind of have to accept that's probably what it is. So relax. It's going to be okay. All right. We got a game on Tuesday. It'll be okay. You don't have to get all this worked up over every single game. Not every single game is a referendum on an entire coaching tenure and the history of a program. Just it's a shitty loss. It sucks. I'm frustrated too. Move on. We'll be better.
I mean, it's always going to sting now. It's always going to sting to fall out of the top 25, but you couldn't have said it better. I mean, this team has seen early season struggles before. I think they're pretty, I think they have a losing record all time in in conference openers. I mean, it's just, to me, and this is going to sound a little weird, but to me, it's a little bit better maybe to have those losses early on. I mean, as opposed to being undefeated and maybe not knowing what your weaknesses are, maybe not being as prone to seeing what those weaknesses are. Now you have a chance to build and develop on that. And I mean, there are silver linings to every game.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a really good point. If you could be undefeated at this point, then maybe you wouldn't necessarily. It's easy to kind of paper over the cracks if you actually had the bad results show up in the loss column.
Yeah.
You know, like if they had won those 4 games or those 3 games, there would still be the same issues that they have right now. You just have a better record. So, knowing what you have to, they know what they have to fix, right? And like I said, I trust that they'll get it fixed. They'll find a way to make this thing work. It's gonna be okay, UConn fans. I promise you.
And you have to feel better knowing too that, I mean, if you have Adama, if you have Tyrese for those games, you're probably winning. You're almost definitely winning. I mean, it's hard to play what ifs, but I mean, come on. You lost
almost like having your leading scorer is something that would help out the team.
Yeah, maybe. And I mean, there's silver linings to every game. Something that stood out to me too. I mean, you talked about Andre Jackson a minute ago. I don't know if you saw this, but the head coach of Providence said that he reminded him of a young Scottie Pippen. So, I mean, you get to see these kinds of things happen. And these younger players are getting this time. Jordan Hawkins, maybe he's struggling right now, but I mean, letting him hit the pavement early and get these minutes early and have this responsibility early, it's only going to benefit him in the long run.
Yeah, I'm with you. Just deep breath.
Yeah, it's almost like we said this exact same thing 2 weeks ago, and the case is still the same. Yeah.
I promise you, it's gonna be okay. It is a long season, and we're not even a third of the way through it. So relax. They're gonna figure it out. We're gonna get healthy. We're gonna be okay. I promise you that. Well, anyways, Tristan, let's get into that interview with Andrea Hurley because this one was fun and kind of went all over the place.
Before we move on, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up for Bet Rivers yet, now is the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, it's more secure, and it's more reliable. Now that basketball season is tipping off, get in on the action at betrivers.com today or by downloading the Bet Rivers iOS app. You must be 21 years or older. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And while I got you here, let's talk about the Field of 68 Media Network, where college basketball matters most all year round. This is a digital media and podcast network that we've been building over the course of the last year. We have shows hosted by some of your favorite players covering the program that they love the most. AJ Guyton hosts the House of Hoosier. Eric Devendorf covers Syracuse on the scorer's table. Dan Dickow hosts the Gonzaga Bulldog broadcast. We have Florida's Patrick Young. and Duke's Andre Dawkins, and North Carolina's Shammond Williams, and Michigan's Stu Douglas, and Illinois' Deion Thomas. The list goes on and on and on. We have more than 30 shows right now. So hit the links below and check them all out. And while you're at it, make sure that you go check out the Field of 12 Media Network, your home for college football.
Now let me welcome on to Top Dogs, the queen of the UConn basketball program, the mother of Huskies, and one half of the Ball is Wife podcast, none other than Andrea Hurley. Andrea, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I mean, I never thought I'd be on a sports podcast. I mean, this is kind of like fish out of water. I don't know what I can answer.
You're a sports podcast host now.
I know, but I don't talk about sports. So don't ask me XO questions. I have no idea.
Oh, I wouldn't even dream of it. But we are recording this about 48 hours after UConn lost to Providence and 36 hours before a game against Marquette. So I want to know right now, living in the house that you live in, is your sanity holding up okay?
Mine is not, but he's always better than I am. Like, you know, of course, hey, listen, you know what? We've been doing this a long time. This is 25 years. We've gone through a lot of losses. We've been through a lot of great wins. This is what he does. You know, it's like, you know, we've been to we were at Rutgers where he got fired, you know, everything was always like, nothing was smooth, you know. It's like he had to find his way, he builds things. I mean, everybody says that. It's like he's used to this. He gets back. I mean, yeah, the first night after a loss, it's excruciating. I mean, I wouldn't wish this house on anyone. Like he gets home and it's all night of carousel calls from coaches and, you know, just meetings in the mind. It's like they just keep going over it and rehashing and trying to fix things and thinking of different, you know, it's all night long. But then the next day, I mean, he gets back on his horse like he always does, and, you know, and fixes it, you know, and tries to, you know, he's going to do it. And, you know, but meanwhile, I'm home thinking about, you know, oh my gosh, you know, this was horrible. Like this was, you know, how bad losses for whatever reason, they never get any easier. It's like, and I say this to him and I get in so much trouble every time he yells at me, but I'm like, why are losses for any coach so shocking? I mean, not for nothing. You have a profession where you win or you lose. I know he's like, you sound so stupid, but I'm not. This doesn't sound stupid. You either win or you lose. You have to do one or the other. And when you lose, it's like debilitating. Like, I can't believe this happened. It's like, you know, nobody wants to lose. I mean, this is what it's all about. This whole profession is about winning, getting somewhere. And it's like, but you know what? He's been doing this for so long. We wouldn't be at UConn if he didn't know how to fix, you know, failures or losses. So yeah, he's fine. I'm like, but.
So I think the thing that I love about this UConn fan base is that they're crazy about this team. They're crazy about this program, both the men's and the women's programs. The thing that drives me nuts is that it feels like every single game is a referendum on a single coach's tenure, right? So when you have a good win, it's time to put Dan Hurley in the Hall of Fame. He's the greatest coach.
Oh, exactly.
You do something like lose at home to Providence, then all of a sudden it's like we got to have him drawn and quartered at half court Pavilion that night. So
you know what? It comes with it. What's that?
Do you guys feel that? Like, does it drive you as crazy as it drives me?
Well, see, I'm not a Twitter. I don't go on Twitter. Like I don't even know. There's message boards. I don't even know how to even access those. Like, why? It's like, you know, you hear them talking over the years and it's like, you know, you have to take I mean, we love fans. You can't live with them. Sometimes you can't, you can't live without them. Sometimes you can't live with them. But you can't, I mean, especially after a loss, nobody's looking on Twitter to see, you know, like what people are saying. I mean, they're tuned into fixing what they have to do, but you feel it. Like, of course you feel it. And it's like what fans don't understand, unless you have a high IQ for the game, which most people do not have. I mean, you could be a super fan. You could be, I've been a fan for 50 years. If you don't know the game, the X's and O's and, you know, like just the game itself, then if your IQ isn't as high, you don't know, like, how come this one didn't play? How come this didn't? Well, you don't know that he didn't do what he was supposed to do that led to the other team's, like, they don't see what was drawn up in practice. They don't see, you're not there. You're not going to know. So, I mean, they could criticize, all they want, which is what it's part of being in this job. It's like, if you're not used to it after 25 some years of doing this, then, no, you have to have a tough skin. And you know what? You have to have a tough skin. Everybody gets it. I mean, look at Jay Wright. I mean, you're going to tell me Jay Wright lost the other night. I mean, look at his score. It's like, you're going to tell me he's a shitty coach. Come on. I think he proved himself over and over again. It's like, no. So you just have to, it's out there, but honestly, it doesn't bother me just because I don't see it. It's like, I learned a long time ago, why look? It's like, who's writing this? It could be somebody that I wouldn't know the difference. It could be somebody who really knows it, even the media, like nobody knows what the hell that they're doing in practice. And so you could say what you want. Half the time you look like a jabroni because, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And you're wasting so much of your life spewing what you think, you know so much of the game and you don't know shit. So you let them do their thing. Like, I promise you, everything's going to be good. They got it. They got it.
So speaking of fans, I'm always curious about this. How much do you get recognized when you're kind of out? Like, are you in the grocery store and people are like, oh, look at that. That's Andrea Hurley, the wife of the UConn basketball coach. Do you get any of that at all?
Just lately, not really, but like,
is it because you are now a podcast star and everyone knows?
I think because I'm a podcast star. I'm going to tell you something. In the Bahamas was probably like, I had the most dopamine ever out there just because of the fact that like, there were people nonstop every day coming up, like every day. And I'm talking people with like Baylor shirts and, just other schools, Arizona State, they're his assistant coach. I went and met him for the first time and he's like, I know who you are. And I said, he's like, my fiance listens to you all the time. I'm like, what? Like, really? Like, it was so nice. That is nice, but not so much here, believe it or not, which I thought I would, because unless I'm with him. But somebody in Whole Foods did say to me the other day, like, are you coach's wife? And I'm like, yeah, like, like Andrea Hurley, Ball's wife, like, you don't know me from that. But no, Rhode Island was, by the time we left Rhode Island, it's a family out there, because it's so tiny and our area, and we lived by campus. So, which when we were actually the day that, the whole job decision day was excruciating. And I had to leave my house because it was a long day. Cause it was just he didn't know what to do. It was crazy. And I had to leave and I got a text message from Cindy Bjorn, which is Thor Bjorn's wife, and says, do you need me to get you guys food? You can't leave today. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that's crazy. I'm like, nobody knows who I am. Like, I could go, I'm fine. Like, I'm going to go to the food store. I'm going to go to Target. Like, that's where I clear my head. She's like, no, you can't. So I'm like, oh my God, like, she's right. Cause like that, people would know me so much more there than here, but little by little, they are.
You'll get there. You mentioned changing jobs. Can you just you've been through a bunch of them with Danny, right? Can you kind of take us through what that process is like for a coach's family? Because I don't think people realize how quickly it's like, all right, drop it now. We got to get rid of all this gear that we have. We have to up and move. There's a lot of times where a family won't go with a coach when they first get to the job, and you're basically spending a couple months apart. Just kind of take us through what those processes have been like for you.
Okay. We were fortunate enough, Rutgers, that was kind of a crazy one. I was very pregnant with Andrew when he got fired from Rutgers, and we just bought a house and we were like, what do we do? Like, what do you mean? Like he got fired. So you got fired, like everybody goes down. So that was kind of scary. And then, the whole scene, then we got into St. Benedict's and which was a blessing, which was like the best I mean, that talk about I could have stayed there forever. Like, you know what? Hey, we struggled paying bills and this and that, but let me tell you something, like, I didn't want to ever leave there. I never wanted to leave our state. I didn't know what it was all about, college, like I was so happy with our little, family of high school. It was just something about it, the school itself, the headmaster is like our family. And then when he said to me one day, I just put my name out there for a job. It's Maris. I know I got a lot of shit for this from Maris fans, but when I told them the story before, but he's like, I'm putting my name out there. I'm not going to get the job. There's so many bigger people, going for the job. And I'm like, why? He's like, just to get out there. And I'm like, okay. He's like, maybe one day I want to, he's like, I got more in me. I'm like, okay. So he ended up getting the job and I couldn't even wrap my head around it. It wasn't a good time for my family. My dad was sick and I couldn't go. I'm crying now. I can't, I couldn't just get up and leave. No, it wasn't for me. So it wasn't the right time. But it was the first time I was like, whoa. So then we got Wagner, which I was like, okay, which was so heartbreaking to leave college. I mean, to leave St. Benedict's, but we, I knew he always wanted to be a college coach. So, you know what, we didn't have to move. He commuted every day. And that was great, family around, everything. When the Rhode Island job came about, again, I don't like change. And it was like, I have a very small family. It's like, I couldn't even fathom moving to another state, what? My mom comes over for Taco Tuesday. How does she do that? And when I'm living in Rhode Island and they all had a hard time with it. And I said to my mom, I can't keep him from doing what he wants to do. This is a dream job. This is something he's worked so hard. That's a whole other topic. No days off. The man never took a day off. He worked so hard to chase his dreams of doing this. How do I say I can't? So the second we got there, he moved there first. It was a decision that it was just hey, that was exciting, even though Wagner was such an amazing place, and we were all in. Thorbjorn made it the most easiest transition and made it feel so right from the second we took the tour on campus. And it was so exciting. I was so excited. So actually, Danny moved out there and lived in a hotel for a little bit, which he skeeves everything. So that couldn't last too long. So, and he was trying to get back and forth to Jersey as much as he could, but you can't do that when you're starting up a new program. So then we moved out there shortly after, which was seamless. My kid, I was very nervous for my boys. They were 5th grade and 8th grade. And that was the first time that, I actually had to get them out into a new school. And that was the hardest thing. And I sat in that parking lot because I worry about my kids the most is how are they adjusting to a new school? And I sat in that parking lot from the second I dropped them off to the second they got out and just dying inside, please make them like it. And they loved it. So it was that was great. Thank you, God. This is, so right from the bat at Rhode Island, even though it needed a lot of fixing and those fans were tough too, if you build it, they will come, they came, it's and then again, the whole point of Providence is kind of we have a relationship with Providence and it's a good one because, there's nobody better than Ed and Nerys Cooley. It's we got to know them and we lived in the same town. We went to the same gym. It's Ed's not easy to not he's such a great guy and funny. And it's just so we had a relationship, but then that rivalry that you have during the, it's that one day it makes, it's a tough one. It's a game that you don't look forward to every year. So that we love. I mean, it was just the whole Rhode Island thing, even with Providence, then Rhode Island built up and I wasn't seeing that many Providence. When we first go there, you see Providence stickers all over cars and not that many Rhode Island. And when things were rolling there and the teams were getting so good, it was all you see is Rhode Island stuff everywhere. And it was just a magical place. I will forever be so blessed and grateful beyond words that we had that opportunity to go there. And that leaving there was probably the hardest thing I personally have ever done in my life. I'm a crier and I'm I couldn't think about leaving my friends and everything that meant so much. But then again, look where we are. It's how do you not say no to UConn? And, there was a few jobs floating out there and I guess it was our last game. It was the A10 And excuse my ignorance, but I don't know who coaches are. I don't know. I worry about my little tiny bubble. I never really ventured outside of that. So one of our coaches' dads came in the lobby and said to me, like, Kevin Ali just got fired. I'm like, Kevin Ali, who is that? Like the UConn coach. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, oh, I'm like, that sucks. I'm like, poor God, like, oh, that I hate to hear that. He's like, UConn's open. So I'm like, okay, like, what does that mean? Like, okay. So I don't know what made me even think about saying to him, like I said, Dan, the UConn coach got fired. So he's just like, he's looking at me. I'm just like, UConn's open. He's like, this is the day of the game. Like, how dare I don't know what came over me. He's like, do you know how many fucking games I have to win to get to UConn? And I'm just like, oh, like, I'm not saying you go to UConn, but I'm like, oh my God, like, okay, like, I'm never going to say it again, like, oh my God, like, that's the last time I ever, relayed any messages about anything. So then it was like, of course, like shortly after, like we got, it was like, you hear things and you're just like, wait, what? Like people are saying it's on social media. And I'm just like, no way, like what? And then I'm thinking it hits you, shit. I'm in Rhode Island, which I adore, the people, the school, the fans, the everything. And it's like to move again, like, but it's UConn, like UConn, like what? And then when it was officially, brought out there, like, hey, it was a tough one, because then we also had Pitt. So we were meeting with Pitt too, which they made it like, oh God, they make it so enticing. You're like, really? That was all like surreal. And then you're like, okay, what do you do? And it wasn't good. It was like, he had no idea. It was tough. It was a tough, and the agent's like, we have to know. And then I would say it. And then he'd say, no, call Jordan back. And I'd call Jordan back. I'm like, he's like, dude, people are waiting. I'm like, so that was the tough one. That was tough. But then coming here, it's like, it's tough for me being here only because my kids are grown already. So I don't really have that many relationships around except for like the UConn, which is the coaches' families and whatever else. But I'm so grateful to be in an area where I could still go. I'm closer to home, New Jersey, home, So that blessing is something that you can't ever even, imagine, that you had the blessings to be around your family, driving distance. So, you know what? My kids are good. Andrew's a walk-on now. Our life, thank God, has been a beautiful, we've had a beautiful basketball life. Yeah. We've had to rebuild. There's been a lot of tough years, but for the most part, I said, like, I'm like, how much longer are we doing this shit for? Like, I'm done. Like, you did it. Like, you've literally, like, and he's just like, no, he's got, he's here for
gotta win that national title first, right?
Yeah. Let's, God, knock on wood, please, God, help us. Yeah.
So that's actually a perfect segue into talking about your podcast, Ball as a Wife. So where did this thing come about? Why did you want to get into podcasting? How did you how do you and Nicole know each other? Like, give me the whole background for this show. You produce it through our network, and I don't even really know what the genesis of this show actually was.
Okay, well, okay, we were very heavily involved in American Cancer Society, Nicole and I, for New England, and our, the woman who was, our contact, Katie Meager, was always like, Andrea, you have to meet Nicole Kellogg. You would love her. And I'm like, okay. Now, mind you, like, I was never in, like, we were not really in, like, Danny was an assistant coach for like 5 seconds, at Rutgers. And I was as old as the players, like, I hate to say that, to admit that, but we got married at 20. And he got the job in 97, literally a month before we got married in August. So I was so young, and no idea. Like, so I really wasn't even paying attention to head coaches, what they were doing. Like, Cindy would come with her friends, hey, hi. But then we were there for a short time and that was it. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing as far as like a head coach's wife. Like, what am I supposed to be doing? So I ended up, she kept wanting to, this Katie from American Cancer Society kept wanting me and Nicole to talk. And I'm like, no, we play UMass. They were, Derek was at UMass and I'm like, no, this doesn't make sense. No, I don't need that, that relationship that like, it's like weird. And then we were lucky enough every year. I say it's such a blessing to go on the trips for Adidas. We had Adidas in Rhode Island and we were invited to this like magical trip to, I don't even know where it was, some beautiful place. And I'm reading off the list of people who are going and I'm like, the Kellogg's are going. I'm like, maybe this is the opportunity to talk to Nicole, I'm like, let's see, maybe we get some, what else are we going to do? Like we all have to, well, the second I met this girl, it was like, she just had lost her mom that December before. So she was, she was having a rough time. So we ended up going on this boat and she was just sad. I could tell. So we just started talking. And when I tell you from the second, we knew everything, but as you could tell, I'm a talker. I live with a house of boys that nobody ever wants to talk to me. So you give me your ear, I give you my life. And what you see is what you get. And she got all of me, like literally more than she probably wanted to. And and then from that day on, I can't even begin to tell you, it was like a connection that I never had with anybody before, especially like she was like we call each other soul sisters because like I feel her soul, like we'll call each other sometimes. And it would be like, we don't even have to even say anything. And she's a crier, thank God. We're both criers and we could cry. I guess we could be on soap operas, so I could cry like that. And I'll just pick up the phone and be like, like right away. She's like, I don't know why I'm crying. I'm like, no, me neither. I was like, so I'm like, listen, we have to meet up. So we would meet. Then she got the job at LIU. So she's in New York. So we would meet up and we would talk for hours and hours and hours. And like, I said this story a million times, but like, we would have every emotion. We would cry, we would laugh, we would do everything together. And it's just like, dude, like, she's like, one day we have to have a podcast. Like there has to be other coaches' wives out there who, we don't want to make this seem like we're not so grateful and fortunate for what we have, but this shit is hard. Like it's hard on everyone, our families are like, who else is feeling this? And I want more friends in the business that we could call up and just be like, hey, how are you handling a loss? How are you handling it? Like, what do you pack for, your conference tournament? Like, you need people like that in your life. So we said, let's just do it. So we did it. And when I tell you, we've made like already for the few people that we've had on, oh my God, like we have like our little sorority going, it's so nice let me tell you something. Seasons are hard. This sucks. Like, I'm not going to lie. This is tough because like I said, Dan's, he takes it very at a loss, even a win. Sometimes if we play shitty and we won, that's a tough night. It's like, it brings down your whole house. And you tiptoe around yourself, him, and you don't know what to say, and you can't talk, you can't do this, just because you're so afraid to say the wrong thing. But then he goes off and, starts his day, gets back out there. And I'm, sitting in there like, my insides are tar. So, it's nice to have people that are going through the same thing with you. Very fortunate.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned a little bit about the relationships that you have with some of the players in the program. And I do want to ask you about a story that Tyrese Martin told us on this podcast last episode. He said he was scheduled to go to one of the Big East Media Days, but they had a bad practice a day or two before he was supposed to go. And Danny said, you're not going to Big East Media Day today. So apparently what he said is that you stepped in and didn't talk to coach for 2 or 3 days until someone sent Tyrese a car at like 4 a.m. to get him to Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Is this a true story?
Yeah, that's accurate. I don't like to get involved too much into, decision making, especially with player coaches, because I know it's not just one coach deciding it. And but there's some things that I need to, voice and I'm Greek, I'm Italian. Like, I'm going to tell you, like, I'm going to get my way. So,
From Jersey, you're gonna say what you got.
And I'm from Jersey. That's a swirl of some. Yeah, I'm not going to say it, but yeah. So, he said, I was in Jersey, actually. I had a doctor's appointment in Jersey. So I was in Jersey, and he called me that night and said, he said, like, now this was 11 o'clock at night. And he said, something. And he said, Tyrese had a shit practice, so I left him behind. I was like, what? Like, he was in New York. I was like, what did you say? Tyrese had a shit practice? He's like, yeah, I didn't let him come because he practiced like crap, and he doesn't deserve to be here. I was like, he had one practice that he sucked it up, and you're gonna leave. Like, that's a privilege for a senior to go to media day. I was like, let me tell you something. I said, I'm gonna say it one time and I'm not gonna say it again. If that child is not at media day in the morning, I said, we're gonna have some major problems. So I hung up. And then then he calls me, and I just kept hanging up. This is what we do, like, really very childish. And then he texted me, stay in your lane. And I said, that is my lane. I'm like, let me tell you something, that kid's not there. I'm like, I'm just telling you right now. So that went on till way over midnight. And I was going to text Eric Jankowski, who is like my go-to guy for every single thing. And, but it was so late, and I'm like, I can't torture this kid. I torture him enough. Like, so I texted him in the morning. I didn't talk. I said, we're done. Like, didn't talk to Danny. And I prayed literally all night. Like, dear God, please make this man do the right thing. And, I'm like, I said, I'll never look at you the same again. I'm like, that is some bullshit. So I texted Eric first thing in the morning. I said, please, Eric, tell me that child is at media day. And he sent me a picture of Tyrese in a suit standing in front of the UConn sign in Madison Square Garden or wherever the hell they were. I was like, oh. So I just texted Big Daddy. I said, you're lucky. So he's like, that's the last time I ever listened to you. I'm like, whatever. So then Eric's like, thank you. You saved it. I'm like, yeah, thanks.
You got to stick up for your boys.
I stick up for my boys. My boys mean the world to me. Let me tell you something. Our boys work so friggin' hard, to make this, they're fighting what they go through. Nobody would ever imagine. Like, you hear what they go through. You don't actually know what they go through unless you're directly into programs like this. It's like, they work so hard around the clock. Even like, there's some days you don't want to do shit. I can't even mop my floor. I don't feel like it. They can't say that. It's like, they're on all the time. It's like, you know what? Like, they're kids too. It's like, give them a break.
Especially with what they went through last year with all the isolation and all, you didn't get any of that college basketball experience last season, right?
Oh.
So to be able to kind of let them enjoy it a little bit, I'm with you.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. When our kids had when somebody got COVID last year, they put them in the hotel on campus by themselves for what, like 10, 14 days. They would leave their food outside their door like an animal. What I said to Daddy, I'm cooking for them. I'm this, I'm that. He's like, can't do it. It's a violation. I'm like, making them food is a violation. Like, can we clear it? Can somebody go? He's like, we can't. Like, it killed me that I couldn't help these kids out. Like, they were by themselves. So many of them, like Tyler, he's so like, just as, oh my God, like the sweetest kid. So like, well-mannered. He just looks it like, and I just was so worried for him to be by himself. Are you okay? He would never, I don't think he would tell anybody that he wasn't, so that killed me. And I kept texting him, and that kid doesn't text back. He makes me crazy. So I'm like, are you okay? Are you okay today? And I'm doing a daily check-in. My daily check-ins went for 14 days. And then I guess he's okay. Sometimes they're like, leave me alone.
So is that a role that you've played with all of Danny's teams? I guess like the den mother, I guess maybe is the way.
Den mom. Yeah, I guess it started in Rhode Island. Well, actually, that's not true. I have a lot of kids at Wagner that I hear from regularly, like Ming. Oh, Ming's always around. He's always around. He's loved that kid. A few of them, but Rhode Island, just because I got to know them from, I always say when they're babies, when they come here as little teeny tiny ones, like it's like you feel like you're actually like a foster family, because my husband calls it The Bachelor sometimes, because it's like it is like the episode of a Bachelor. Like when you recruit kids, it's like you go on hometown dates, you look at them, you go on hometown dates, they go to you, you come to them, and then you're like, is he going to pick, so it's like an episode of The Bachelor kind of, but for me, it's like, once they say they're coming here, it's like you're their foster home for what it's worth for the 4 years. It's like they come to you as these little tiny little ones. And when you see their pictures from, freshman year to senior year, it's like they're babies. So they come here from all around the world, and you have to take them in, and you do you just watch them grow, and you know everything about them, when they're in trouble. Sometimes it keeps a lot of that from me, but then you when they get hurt, you want to be there for them and know that, there is a mother figure. It's tough. It's a raw job. I mean, who the hell's giving you a hug? Nobody gives me a freaking hug. It's like, I'm in a man's world. It's like, just so like, I'm here. I do little spurts of things to let them know how much I really do care about them, hopefully without, going, being annoying. I don't want to be annoying, but I just want them all to know, here I am,
So do you do that with the staff as well? I heard a story that you've helped out babysitting a little bit for Luke Murray and his wife as they're kind of adjusting to their move.
Oh God, I love that. But Luke, we've known Luke forever. Luke is like, I mean, I love that kid. It's like, I call him kids, like I'm like 70 years old, but everybody under me, he's a kid. So yeah, there's something about him, we've connected when he was at Rhode Island. Luke and I just had such a great relationship. Danny would do his radio shows, because there, Rhode Island, you do radio show every week at a different restaurant, a different place. And Luke and I would just like literally just tell stories, and when I was so sad to hear, that, when he got fired, I'm like, oh my God, like, and I'm saying to myself, oh my God, who knew he would be, he'd come back here. It was so amazing. I was so happy. And Kara, love Kara. And yeah, I helped them babysit. I never met their kids before, because they were off having kids, and far away. So it was Kara and Luke when they left, and then Kara and like all these kids when they came back here. So she has 2 little boys, and I had to watch them one day. And my life is all boys. Like, I'm surrounded by them. So I'm sending him pictures, his kids jumping on my head. I have 4 scratch marks on my cheek for like a week, because the kid was like ripping my face apart. And I'm like, where are the girls? Like, can somebody have a girl? And then he just had a girl. So yeah, I'm around. I'm Mama Hurley. Like, I'm here for anybody who needs me.
So I got to know, who's worse at changing diapers, Luke or Danny Hurley?
I had never seen either of them change a diaper, honestly. I don't think they even know how to do that.
I just changed a dirty diaper about 15 minutes before we started recording this podcast.
No, actually, I'm telling you the God's honest truth. I'm not sure it even ever happened. Like, little Danny was born. My first was born. I have a picture of it. And I was young. I was 22 when I had him. 20 when we got married. So I had him after we got married. And we left Danny home with Big Danny. Now, mind you, like, Danny had to leave. Little Danny was born July 1st, and Big Danny had to leave July 5th to go recruiting for a month. So he got home. And then we actually had our house had a fire. So we had to move back in with my mom. So he was commuting to Rutgers from Toms River. And he just got back from not being home for a whole month. So he never really, that whole first month he lost with Danny. And so he really didn't know what was going on. And I had to get the hell out. Like, my mom's like, can we leave him home with the baby and go to Target? And I was like, Ma, I have to get out without a kid attached to me. And I left him home, and I didn't even get out of my mom's development, and he's calling. My mom goes, don't answer it. There's nothing he needs. I'm like, we left everything for him. Don't answer it. And he called me and he's like, you have to come home. I don't know what just happened. Now I had Danny's changing like little pad on the counter in the kitchen. Well, he must have like went to go try to change him, and little Danny like squirted shit across the entire kitchen. So he was just like standing there in a pad. I said, Mom, we can't even go to freaking Target. Like I had to go. I'm like, it wasn't even 5 minutes. So I think from then on, he was like, no,
I'm not doing it.
Not doing it.
He's a bit of a germaphobe, right? You can't change a dirty diaper if you're
Extremely. Yeah. I remember like, like I keep saying, I'm in a man's world, and I'm sensitive in some ways, but in other ways I am tough as nails. Like I don't get upset over silly things like, like, oh, he didn't do this for me. He didn't do that for me. You know what? Like he didn't come here. Stop. Like I don't need that. I'm not like that at all. But one time I will never forget this. I was so sick. I had the flu so bad, and he was home with the kids, and I could hear, and they were little, and I could hear so much going on, and to take him out. And all I wanted was like water. And when you sit up and you have a fever and the room's spinning and you don't feel, you're sweating and you're freezing, and he didn't come upstairs one time to even check to see if I was alive. So I started hitting the headboard of my bed to please help me. Like I need what I need, Thailand, I need something, please help me. And I'm going, help. And I couldn't get it out, but I heard them all rustling downstairs, and he's saying, sit down, let me put your shoe on. Sit down. I'm going, help. Like nobody came upstairs. Like he didn't come upstairs. I could have been dead. Nobody came to check on me. And then next thing I know, I heard the door close, and I was like, oh my God, they left. Like he took them to the park or something. So I had to go down the steps, sitting down, got my own stuff, but he didn't come. He wouldn't go in that room because I was sick. 2 days. I had it. I could have been, like I said, I could have been, dead and buried by that time he even came to check on me. That's what I live with.
How do you survive a worldwide pandemic for 2 years as someone that can't be in the same room as someone that has the flu?
Well, because he had, God forbid, if you sneezed or coughed, it was insane. It was like, my kids just did it to be annoying, but I mean, we knew we did not have it. But because we never left the house, but when there was groceries in, I have pictures of it. It was like, he would, if we had it delivered, everything would be at our front door, and he had a system. He'd leave it outside for a while. He'd Lysol the bags from so far away, like from outside. He'd Lysol, we'd have to leave him again. I'm like, our chicken is rotting. Like we have stuff outside that needs to go in. And then we'd have rubber gloves on. He'd line the hallway with plastic bags, and we'd have to sit there and wash everything. And he'd watch me, like every single thing. It was torture. I mean, that was hard. And then if we went, I say, please let me just go. I wanted to leave. I said, please let me just go to Whole Foods by myself. I want to go by myself. And he says, I have to watch you. So he's like, you're going to touch something you shouldn't touch. And I was like, I had to keep my hands on like the shopping cart. Someone's like, grab it, you go, and I had to just take what I wanted. And he counted down. We had to go. So that part was hard, but he was on the phone, I want to say 12 hours out of the day, at least, either Zooms, phone, every single day. There wasn't many times that he wasn't, and he'd do everything outside. So it was nice to have, it was time with our family. That, people say this, but it's so true. My kids were home. We would have never had that time together. How much time has a college coach have with his family? Never. So that was the positive part about it, but it got old quick.
Because he's always around, right?
Oh, and he's so loud, and he's like ignorant. It's like, I want to start cooking dinner, and he sets up shop in the kitchen. Like, I'm going to cook dinner. Like, why are you here? Like, go downstairs. Like, there's other places everywhere I wanted to go, he was there, which was so annoying. But my patience, was wearing things, especially because you can't leave. He made us do mandatory family walks during the day, which never never started or ended well. Yeah, because we'd be walking and this little girl, it's embarrassing. Like he didn't want anybody near us. And this little girl, like there's a family that was walking far, far behind, and their kid was on a bike and she kept going past us, but close. And he'd yell at her, like get lost, beat it, like get away from us. Like, and I'd be like, you're so rude. And he'd turn around and just stare at the people and like point to the kid. And I'm like, stop. Like that's so embarrassing. The kid doesn't have COVID. She's on a bike.
All right, so I've kept you already for 40 minutes, longer than I told you.
You did?
Yeah. So I have 3 questions. We're going to end this with a 3-pack.
All right, I won't talk long, I promise.
No. But here's the thing: you got to be honest about these questions.
Okay.
So, I want to know the most embarrassed you've been by something that Dan has done on the sideline during a game.
I don't like when he tells people to stand the F up. Don't like that. When he says, like when he gets so mad that everybody's just sitting there and the kids are fighting for their lives and everybody's just like, waiting to sigh, or when he tells people to stand up, it's embarrassing to me. Like, don't tell people what to do. It's not the foot stomps. It's not the screaming at refs. I don't care. Like that doesn't bother me. It's not even the getting thrown out. It's when Pete tells us to stand up, that bothers me. Nothing else.
That's what gets you?
Yeah. Nothing else.
What about when did you see the clip of, it was the St. Bonaventure game after RJ hit that shot with like a minute left and he's in his face? Yeah, you're a bad fucking man. Like,
yeah. No, I just feel bad for the kid because I know he's spitting. Because he spits when he yells. Like if we get in a fight and we're like he spits when he yells. I'm like, disgusting. Like, I just know he's spitting on people. But no, that he's telling the kid, like, you know what? Like he gets so fired up that it's like, hey, whatever he does out there, he's technically fighting for his life every time he steps on that court. It's like we are like, this is what his whole life is that's showtime. And it's like, sometimes you lose your mind. He's putting 1,010% into every second of that game. And if he's, if he's sticking up for his players, if he's telling his players how great, there was that one, it keeps coming up. It's so funny. With Jalen, when they beat Syracuse, that he hit him hard. I said, don't smack his ass that hard. It's too hard, like his face, whatever he did. I'm like, he gets so, and one time he hit one of our other players, like he was so happy he hit him in the head. The poor kid was like, oh, I said, if you hurt them by like, I'm going to kill you. Yeah. But no, and nothing bothers me. No.
Well, that's good to know. What I need to play that clip of you're a bad fucker. Like when I go out and I change a dirty diaper perfectly, or like I fold one of my kids' fitted sheets, I want a clip of Danny Hurley screaming, "You're a bad fucking man" at me.
But did you see? But you know what? Did you see? RJ was standing there like he didn't know what he was going to say to him, or just sitting there like he didn't know what was coming out of his mouth, because look, he was like screaming at him to say you suck, and he's just like, but yeah. Normal. That's normal.
All right. Question number 2. How did Dan woo you back in the day? Well, I want to know what the first date was.
Oh, he never wooed me. Like I said, that's the first question I'm going to ask God when we go to heaven. I know I'm going to heaven. When I go to heaven, it's the first thing I'm going to ask, like, how the hell did you put us together? Because there wasn't anything. It was like I met my friend, Emily Griffiths at the time. She was dating a basketball player, wanted me to hang out wanted me to date somebody on the team. And I'm like, no, I was no. And then at a bar one night, it was at the hall back in the day at Seton Hall. She was like pointing behind me, like to him. And I'm just like, come on, man, like really? So then I had to go meet him. And he was like, it was like talking to a corpse, it was like, I'm like, hey, and then he came up to me and said, you want to ride home? And I'm just like, oh, you want to take me home? Yeah, shit. Because I was in the middle of South Orange. I want to ride home. And so he's like, I'm like, my friend, I'm like, I'm filling his car. Like my friend's like, you ready? Like we got to ride home. So filled, and he's just like, let me take them home. And then he said, what are you doing? That was a Thursday. He's like, what are you doing Saturday? And I'm just like, nothing. It's Seton Hall. You don't do shit on the weekends. You know, I'm like, yeah, nothing. So he said, you want to go to the movies? And I'm like, sure. Now, mind you, I have straight hair. I mean, I have very curly hair. I just straighten it. So the night he met me, I had poker straight hair. And then Saturday, when he picked me up for the movies, I did my hair really curly. So in pure Danny Hurley fashion, I crawled into his car. I was like, hey, you know, like, hi, because he was outside of Boland. And he says, I'm not in the mood for fucking games. And I'm like, he's like, where is she? I was like, where's who? He's like, you're not Andrea. I'm like, I am. I'm like, my hair's curly. I'm like, so I'm sitting there like this, like, do you see, like, and I'm like pulling my hair down, and he just didn't say a word and just drove off. I was like with me in the car. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And then we just kept hanging out, and there was just something about him that I don't know. Like, it was like a friendship. And then it was like, I love this guy. Like, it was just like, we were just made for, like, hey, not too many people could be where I'm toot, but not too many people could be sitting where I'm sitting right now and going through this life. I could tell you right now. So, you know what? It was just made, you know, and let me tell you something. We had a few rough years in the beginning there. When I didn't realize what this job was about and what he was doing, and he was never home, and, you know, and this is high school, and he's telling me, you know, there is no days off. And, you know, that was tough, but you know what? Like, we ended up just making it work, and here we are.
I love that your first date, he didn't even recognize you.
No idea.
That's such a great story.
Yeah, no
All right. Third question. Last question I got for you. How are the chickens doing?
Done. Chickens are
Got rid of
gone.
them?
Yeah, that was short-lived. I like I said, do I need one more thing on my plate here? The house that we bought, beautiful house, but it puts the money pit to shame. It's like there's always something, a big issue with my house, and the chickens were not adding to it. I still, to this day, I have leaks all over. I have buckets everywhere. I every 5 minutes there's something else. Air condition, heat. I can't. I'm like, chickens, you're done. I called some guy, my plow guy, actually. I said, do you want chickens? Do you eat chicken? Like, I don't know. You want a chicken? And he came with his friend. You know what? It was the winter that killed me, because I don't have electricity out there. So I'd have to keep carrying water twice a day. And I'd have to come home from what I was doing to get the chickens fresh water. And they were my pets. You know, he wouldn't let me bring them in the garage when it got cold, God forbid. So chickens are gone. No more. I'm done. Yeah. It was fun.
It was fun while it lasted.
It was fun yeah. It was fun, but they're done.
Well, listen, Andrea, I appreciate the time. It was nice to be able to share some of your story a little bit, let people know who you are, and promote this Baller's Wife podcast. We got to blow this thing out. We got to make it the biggest podcast in the world.
I know. And we're so bad at it. I don't do social media, and anybody who texts me social media, even messages me on social media, I'm sorry. I'm not good. I shouldn't even have a phone. I don't even put it out on. We could be so much bigger. We're happy in our little cocoon, and I know we can do this so much better. But I'm just loving that people are loving it, and you know, we're gonna do real. I mean, as long as I'm not really doing it to be big and huge. I'm like doing it selfishly for our own, you know, to make friends.
Because you like doing it.
And obviously I love to talk. So it's good. Win-win.
Well, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been another episode of Top Dogs.